Hi guys, you're welcome to another tutorial. Now we'll be drafting a Natalie Bray pattern, but we are going to be using inches so it will be easier for us. Let's get started. So I'm starting with the vertical measurement. The breast point is 12 inches, under bust is 16 inches. From the under bust I went down by 2.5 inches. That gives me the waist length for this tutorial. So I square up the lines. After that, I used 8.5 inches for the shoulder measurements. Then I went down by 1.5 inch for the shoulder slope. So I make use of 3 by 3. That's a standard neckline and neck width measurement. Now the shoulder of this client is 16 divided by 2. We have 8 inches, but I added half inch to it, making 8.5. So I rule from the neck width to the 1.5. That gives us the shoulder slope. Now for our nipple to nipple measurement, I make use of 4.75 for this client. The reason being that you are going to divide your round bust divided by 8 minus 0.75. So whatever that gives you, you are going to mark it. Now I put it from the breast point all the way to the full length of this pattern paper. That is the hip length. So from the breast point I went up by 1.5 inches. That is the space in between the breast point. You go up by 1.5. That's where our shoulder dart will start from. Now you're going to put your nipple to nipple measurement still on that 4.5. so you divide whatever you have left between your shoulder slope and your neck width. You divide it by 2, you get the midpoint. Now we're going to be using 3 inches for the shoulder dart of this client. Because the bust is from 40 upward, you use 3 inches. So you divide it by 2, you get 1.5, and you put it on both sides in between the midpoint of the shoulder. Can you see what I'm doing? Now you're going to connect it to the 1.5 inch, just the way you see me doing, like that. So for a bust of 40 downward, you are going to use 2.5. Now we'll be closing this shoulder dart so that we can now remark our shoulder measurement, because by the time you cut off the shoulder dart, your shoulder measurement gets short. So you have to close the dart. Then you place your ruler and you mark from the neck width. So the way your ruler is giving you that slant form, that is how you're going to rule it. Now after ruling, you can now measure your shoulder now. So the 8.5 inches we used initially, I'm going to put it that way. So we now have our shoulder measurement. Now on this point where you see my tape touching, you're going to put your round sleeve divided by 2. That's your bicep. Whatever it gives you, divide it by 2, then you indicate it. So what I got there, I'm just trying to mark so I can get a straight line. Then I went ahead to rule it. So that will now serve as the chest line for this tutorial. I hope you understand. Now on the chest line, you're going to put your round bust measurement. So for this person, our round bust is 44. That's divided by 4, we have 11. So this is me indicating the 11 inches. Now on the breast point, I also put the same 11 inches. So to get our cross chest measurement, the 8 inches I got for the chest line, I'm going to divide it by 3. So what I got there is 2.2, and I mark it from the chest line. I think it's 2.5, but whatever you get, mark it from the chest line, and you also square up the line. Now you have your across chest, so you are going to put your across chest there. For this client, our across chest is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Now I replace the dart intake there, then I add the half inch that I added on the shoulder. You're still going to add it to your across chest. So you now connect the 3 points together from your shoulder to your across chest to your chest line. I hope you understand. So that becomes the armhole for this client. Now on the waist, I'm going to be using 0.75 on both sides as our dart intake. Now this 0.75, you're going to connect it to the breast point. Now this is a basic bodice measurement. So if you now want to do any alteration, like any style, you can now add to your dart intake, but this is basic 0.75. You connect it to your breast point. So from the waist length, I went down by 6 inches. That is where our darts will stop at. Now we're going to connect both dart leg to that 6 inches. So after connecting it, we have our darts. Now since we have our round bust measurement, we're going to be putting the round hip on that point. So for this client, our round hip is 46 divided by 4, we have 11.5. Now you're going to connect the lines together from the breast point to the hip measurement. Okay, so to get our waist measurement, you put your waist measurement that way plus your dart measurement. So what I have, the difference is just 0.75 on the waist. So when you do your calculation, whatever you have, you are going to indicate it. So I use my hip curve to connect it to the hip. So we have our basic bodies, the circumference ready. After this guy, we're going to be drafting the back. And now I like drafting my front and back on the same paper because it is easier for me that way. So you're going to be extending some of the lines. You extend the chest line, extend it to the back, extend the across chest measurement. Now you extend the waist measurement also. So after extending, you can see we have all the lines equal. So on the waistline, remember we use 8 inches from the shoulder slant to get our chest line. Now you're going to go up for this back, you're going to go up from the chest line by that 8 inches. So when you go up, you're not going to roll the line. After that, guys, then the 1.5 inches shoulder slant we use initially, you're going to, for the front, now you're going to mark it from that 8 inches line. You square up. Now you're going to go up by that 1.5, and you also square up the line. After this, guys, I'm trying to mark the zip allowance. That is for those that want to put a zip. Since it's a basic block, let's go ahead and put our zip line. So 1 inch for the zip line. Now you're going to go down by 1 inch from that point. That is the neck depth for the back. So now since we use 3 inches for the neck width, you're going to use the same 3 inches for the back neck width. Now you connect it. You connect it into the zip now. So we have the neck width ready. So to get our shoulder for the back, can you see the way I placed my tape? Place it like that up to the 1.5 inch, and you put your shoulder measurement. Now the across chest measurement, you're also going to put it on your chest line. You're also going to put your round bust measurement. Now you're going to connect the 3 points together. Remember to add the 1/2 inch you added on the shoulder and on the across chest measurement. You add it also on the back measurement. You're going to connect your shoulder slant of the back. Now to get the back dart, guys, I'm going to be making use of 5 inches. Now for the front, I use 4.75 when I did my calculation. So for the back, I'm adding 0.25 to it. That is 5 inches. So I indicate it on the waist line and on the hip line. So from where the dart is going to start from, I went up from the waistline by 5.5 inches, and I also indicate the 5 inches. So I'm going to be rolling the line. So after rolling it, then I went ahead to use 0.75 on both sides. Now you can use half inch on both sides, it depends on you. So I connected it to the starting line there. Then I'm just trying to check the length of the back of the front darts. So I did the same thing. I used 6 inches. So you are going to connect your darts, your two dart leg up to the 6 inches. Now I went ahead to put my hip measurements on the hip line. Then I also connected the lines together. So since the difference between the waist and the hip after all the dart intake is 0.75 for the front, remember it's still the same thing we used for the back, so it is still the same 0.75. that is your round waist plus your darts. So you put the measurement there. So I now connected it with my hip curve. Now we have our front and back bodies. I went ahead to add 1.5 inches sewing allowance because I have enough space, on my pattern paper. So guys, in order for you to, if you want to cut this pattern paper, this is how you are going to close your darts before you cut. Or you can as well use your tracing wheel to just trace from the neck width that way to the slope, then you open it back. So when you trace it, you're going to see some dotted lines, and you're going to follow the line and you roll it. Can you see it? So wherever that dotted line stop, that is where you roll. Now this is how to cut your shoulder. After all this, guys, so this is me just writing, the sewing allowance, the chest line, the breast point, and all of that, so that you guys will just, understand all the line. Guys, our next tutorial will be to use this pattern to draft a 3-part corset. So with this pattern, guys, you can do anything. So stay tuned for the next tutorial. Now, if you find this tutorial helpful, guys, kindly give me a like, share this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Thank you guys for watching this. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.